Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the July Planning Commission meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. We're going to go ahead and start off by approval of just to review and approve the minutes from our previous meeting. Commissioners, while you're looking those over, I am going to say something real quick. I am going to remind the public here, this is a public meeting, but we are here we are the Planning Commission, okay? We are not, we're not judge, jury, executioner. We're not anybody but just some people that that care about our city, that we are up here to discuss Planning Commission business tonight. So not moral implications of any of the items on the agenda. So anyway, we will be limiting any comments to 3 minutes as well. So anyway, with that being said, Commissioners, have you had a chance to look the minutes over?
Wendell?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but you skipped attendance.
Okay. Skipped attendance. Okay. Justin, call the roll.
Wendell Miller,
Here.
Don Jackamore,
Here.
Justin Cothran, present. Cheryl Monfey, Shirley Hatley, Luke Duffield,
Here.
John Choate, Larry Smith,
Here.
Cody Black,
Here.
Mr. Keller.
Present.
Okay. All right. Sarah, can I move on to the minutes now? Okay, thanks. Commissioners, have you had a chance to look the minutes over? Do you have any questions, comments?
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from June's meeting. We have a second. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. First item, we have a commercial building design waiver located at 5520 North Arkansas, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Tobacco Town and Bates Distributing. Sarah, you got a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. I am pleased to announce that I do have a staff report. As we have tabled this several times, the applicant's contractor came and met with me, showed me the type of material they were would be using. They revised their plans showing how the front office would be in compliance with the commercial building design requirements of Article 3.20, and that this commercial building design waiver is just for the warehouse portion of the Bates Distribution Center. As originally stated, staff already would be in agreement with allowing a commercial building design waiver for the warehouse portion. And so I'm not going to go through the entire staff report. Staff recommends approval of the commercial building design waiver as a result of the findings. The applicant provided documentation that the front portion of the building is pressed steel and rock. The warehouse is located behind the office building, and by contrast, the office will offset any visual impact from the street of the warehouse. And the commission has already approved the special use permit allowing operation of this business at this location. That is my staff report.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody from Barrett have anything to add to that? You have anything to, okay, all right. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I have a question. Sarah, is this picture, this rendition of the front, that's what they're going to do?
Yes, sir. That is what they're proposing to do.
Okay.
This is Cody. I'm going to make a motion to approve as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request for the building design waiver. All those in favor, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. All right. Next item, rezoning a property from CNS to C2 located at 1605 North Phoenix Avenue, submitted by Perihelion Solar on behalf of Tim Carr. Sarah, you have a staff report?
Yes, sir, and as stated, this is to update the Russellville zoning map for property at 1605 North Phoenix Avenue to C2 Highway Commercial. First, I will note, it was brought to my attention that there was a similar case, rezoning an area along Detroit and B Street in the floodway along Prairie Creek for a mobile home. In that instance, that application was denied because of the floodway issues along Prairie Creek. When considering a zone map adjustment, careful consideration needs to be made in regard to the future and current land use of the area, the comprehensive plan recommendations, and that the request is not based exclusively upon a desire to increase the value or income potential of the property. This property is located within the Conservation District represented by the U.S. Corps of Engineers flowage easement. It's the floodway by the FEMA flood insurance rate map and other lands deemed compatible with the Conservation District. Current uses of the area within the CNS zone surrounding the property are pasture land and field crops as utilized by Arkansas Tech University. When considering the rezone to C2 as a future use, regardless of being categorized as such within the future land use map, one needs to take into consideration all the different permitted uses within a C2 zone. Permitted uses within a C2 zone include arcades, bowling alleys, offices, medical and/or professional, dry cleaners, bookstore, grocery store, restaurants, among other outright permitted uses. It also doesn't take into consideration any uses permitted by special use. I will note that there was no objection filed by the U.S. Corps of Engineers. They just noted that it's not a question of if this property will flood, it is a question of when. Reimagine Russellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan defines this area as recreational, included as areas intended for recreational purposes. Developments within the recreational or CNS zone should be thoroughly vetted to ensure that the natural function of land in this area is to be preserved. If this is converted to a C2 zone, those considerations would not be required. However, the U.S. Corps of Engineers will still have extensive specific restrictions that will prohibit updates to the structure, including restrictions regarding expansion of the structure. The last item you need to consider is the value or income potential. The rezone request would be spot zoning, since its surrounding property is all CNS zone. The current zoning of the property as CNS vastly reduces the potential for future businesses within the area that are not recreational or public utility in nature. And by granting this rezone, the income potential of the property would increase because of the limitations placed on the CNS Conservation District zone versus a C2 highway commercial zone. As a result, staff recommends that the commission forward this application to the City Council with a recommendation of denial to rezone the property from CNS Conservation District to C2 Highway Commercial. As a result of the findings, it is not in line with the existing and future land uses within the area. The proposal does not align with the Reimagine Russellville 2040 Comprehensive Plan. If rezoned, would create spot zoning, and there may be an increase of value or income potential of the property since it is existing. And that is my staff report.
All right, thank you, Sarah. We do have a couple people that would have asked to comment. Chris Abington and Andy Barrett, either one of you. If you would, state your names for the record,
Yeah.
please.
My name is Andrew Barrett. I am the CEO of Perihelion Solar. We are an employee-owned company, solar cooperative, engineering, procurement, and construction company. We've been operating in Russellville for 3 years now. We've been doing work across the state, Little Rock, Northwest Arkansas. We've been bringing in a lot of value to the city, and we want to continue doing so. So this property is very unique in the fact that it's iconic. Everybody knows this as a climbing gym. The purpose, the usefulness of it now is not there for many different purposes. But for our use, it's ideal for a solar array. And we would like to build a solar array on the building, on the rooftop. We've already talked to the Corps of Engineers, and they've approved they tentatively approved of what we want to do. So we'd like to build the solar array in order to power our vehicles. We have we're going to have 2 trucks, a van, and a car. They're all going to be solar-powered, electric-powered cars, vehicles. So we'd like to be that. I mean, that could be a very good, example for the city, of us moving forward. And I just wanted to address one thing that Sarah said about the Reimagine Russellville 2040. And I just wanted to say, that one of the main components of Russellville 2040 is to bring new businesses in and create new jobs. And I think having this it's going to also be a training center for us as far as like training our workers that climb on roofs inside there and be able to help us support that function. So you may ask the question, why here? Why is this a good location for us out of all the different locations? Well, the location of it is adjacent to, if you look at the future zone map, which we can pull up here on the zoning map, adjacent to the property is the institutional campus zone. So it's right neighboring that property anyway. So in the future, it's still going to be in character with that property that's laid out as far as the institutional campus. It's surrounded by Arkansas Tech University. So I don't think it'll be, it's already existing building, so we're not going to be changing anything on property. Another thing that Sarah mentioned was that it already has the flowage easement from the Corps of Engineers, so we can't even really build anything on the property. We can just use the structure itself. So it's just a great opportunity for us. I think it's a great opportunity for Russellville. And, I think we would love to, build this community up and bring more resources to this area. So,
Andy, I have a question.
Yeah.
With it being in a floodplain like that, I mean, being, susceptible to flooding or whatever, how's that going to work with what you're wanting to do with the building? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not going to affect the
The
functioning of it? I mean,
yeah, so we're going to be storing our vehicles to the side of the building where we have a charger set up, and we'll have inside the building we'll be using to store our solar panels, which are, basically environmentally protected, right, or environmentally sensitive. They're not sensitive to environmental conditions, right? So we can store our solar panels on the bottom floor. Our more sensitive equipment we can store upstairs because it's already has that upstairs area. So it's very convenient for us to have more of our tools and things that we can keep in that top level. So the flooding was something we considered because we know the property is going to flood, like Sarah said. It's going to happen. We were just, we can handle that if that does occur.
okay. All right.
Hi, my name is Chris Abington, and I thought I would just add maybe a little bit of historical information on the property. So we represent the cars who have that building still. We've had the property for sale. Climbing wall, climbing gym was there. Back in about 2012 or 13, Clint Brown, who has the Cars Chain Reaction, another partner, went in and invested about $120,000 into that building. So in 2012, 2013, pulling city permits, pulling city business permits to run their business out of there, pulled all of it, reinvested in the building. And I thought that's probably helpful information to know that what we as a city did and accommodated that business for being there. And then at this point, obviously the wall part didn't work out for them, nothing to do with Corps of Engineers, nothing to do with anything flooding, just a business part of it that didn't work for them. So now they're left with a building that they've reinvested in, that the city had okayed, and all the components of that along the way. Just think would be sad to see that go to waste with a good opportunity for something to be rehabbed in that city, in that spot in our city that's only going to, again, help grow some jobs and help grow opportunities in our city. So that's it. Unless there's other questions, that was the main thing I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Abington? All right, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Commissioners, you have any questions, any comment? What is your pleasure?
I move that we send this on to council as recommended.
Your motion to approve?
Well, it says send it on to council.
Sarah, I have a question to this. If I heard you correctly, you said that the business, you have another location that you're operating out of that's your office. Is that right? And this is only going to be used for storage and warehouse, but your actual business location will be at another location. Is that right? Downtown. If that is only going to be if it's not actually a business, and it's not, is there a way to accommodate that with the business being in another location?
So, great question. It is why the Corps does not have any objection because of the business proposed. However, when staff has to consider a rezone, I can't necessarily look at just what that business is proposing for today. I have to look at, well, in 10, 20 years, is it still going to be Perihelion Solar? Could it be another business? And once we change that from a conservation district to a C2 district, anything that could be outright permitted could just come in and apply for a permit and operate at that location.
I understand. Is there a provision, since the business is not operated there, for a different type of zone, or allowing that within this zone without it being the business operated out of that?
Great question. Andy asked me the same thing. We've gone through a couple different, trying to figure out a different way. This is the only zone that a C2 zone is the only zone that he would be able to operate that business at that location. He still would have to go through a special use permit, even in a C2 zone, in order to operate that business at that location. So unfortunately, there isn't another option around. It's either rezone that, allow him to go through the special use permit, or deny the request and retain the conservation zoning.
Sarah, within your report, there's some comments from City Corp that notated fire protection may be impacted. Is
The
there,
closest fire hydrant and water and sewer is approximately 1,400 feet away in a straight line. And so that's not just driving down the road, it's around a couple corners. So that may be impacted. I believe that Mr. Barrett is aware of that. We did point that out. We called him during the technical review meeting once that information was highlighted to us. My understanding is that there is a well on the property and that there is a septic system on the property. Obviously, before any business goes on there, they have to show that they have the correct approvals, that those are in operation, because even for a warehouse, he will have some employees who are there, maybe not every day, but he'll have to have a restroom facility available for them.
On this existing building, how did it get approved back in 2012?
So the climbing gym, my understanding, was considered a recreational facility, and a recreational facility can be permitted in the conservation zone.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Smith is withdrawing his motion. What is your pleasure, gentlemen?
I'll make the motion to forward to City Council to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do I have a second? I will second. We have a motion and a second to deny and send to City Council. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. All right, the next item. large-scale development located at 4820 East Main Street, submitted by Robinson Construction on behalf of Tyson Foods. Sarah, you have a staff report on that one?
Yes, sir. So this application is for a large-scale development to allow construction of a new parking lot of approximately 20,000 square feet along Industrial Boulevard. This is the existing Tyson building over in the Industrial Park, East End Industrial Park. There's not really a lot to go over with this. It's just a parking lot. Unfortunately, because of the size of the structures on the building, or on the property, they have to go through this process for a large-scale development. So I'm not going to read through the staff report. It is staff's recommendation to approve the large-scale development to allow construction of a parking lot for Tyson as a result of the findings that the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations of Article 2.10 of the Russellville Zoning Code and compliance with the regulations within Section 7 of the Land Subdivision and Development Code. And that is my staff report.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Is there anybody from Robinson Construction here or from Tyson that has anything to add? Okay, Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Don, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
It's Cody, I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Black seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the large-scale development located at 4820 East Main Street. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right. Next item, we have a large-scale development located at 51 Bradley Cove Road, submitted by Barrett and Associates on behalf of Gulfside Casino Partnership, on behalf of Dieter Family Revocable Trust, Marion Helton, and Merrick Land Holdings LLC. Did I get that right? Sarah, you have a staff report on that?
Yes, sir. So as stated, this is, wrong report, hold on. I had to print up two of my reports, and I brought the wrong one with me. So as stated, this application is to request a large-scale development approval to allow construction of a new casino gaming facility with hotel and casino annex structure located on 47.67 acres, with primary access being obtained from Bradley Cove Road and secondary access available off Hobnob Road. The portion of the property zoned C5 was zoned by ordinance 2343, establishing zoning within this area. Properties in the planning boundary where zoning has been adopted are subject to both the Russellville Zoning Code and the Land Subdivision and Development Code. The site plan submitted has outlined how they are in compliance with the checklist for the site plan submittal. The review of the project is subject to all the requirements of the Land Subdivision and Development Code, and the Planning Commission has the authority to deny an application in the event the application conflicts with any of the provisions of the Land Subdivision and Development Code. Compliance with the Land Subdivision and Development Code requires adequacy of public facilities and services. The developer outlines the improvements for water, sewer, stormwater, and indicates transportation system improvements. In review of the transportation traffic impact study, improvements will be required to be designed and approved by the city and/or RDOT as needed for improvements at both entrances, including off-street improvements for each entrance located at Hobnob Road and Bradley Cove Road, as well as improvements to maintain a level of service rating of a C or better for both off-ramps from I-40 adjoining Highway 331/Bradley Cove Road. Large-scale development does require an applicant to propose green space and landscaping. No specific requirements for landscaping are listed within the zoning code. To help offset the large expanse of hard surface being proposed within the parking lot containing over 1,500 parking spaces, staff recommends breaking up the vast expanse of pavement by including a landscape island within it with at least one shade tree for every row of parking exceeding 15 spaces side to side. This may cause a reduction in parking spaces. However, as noted in the application, it is highly unlikely that all of the spaces shown will ever be used. As a result, staff believes that a reduction of approximately 50 parking spaces would be acceptable, and that we would still retain more than 1,500 parking spaces. Sidewalks per 321 are required for new commercial structures. Per the Russellville Trails map, there is a 10-foot trail proposed along Hobnob Road, across I-40 at 331, and along Bradley Cove Road. The applicant is proposing to build 10-foot trails along the entire frontage of the property, meeting the requirements of the Russellville Trails map and Article 3.21. The applicant has also submitted calculations for both the hotel and the gaming area, showing that they are providing the over 1,500 parking spaces and are in compliance with the parking regulations. All signage, any new signs will need to meet the provisions of Article 5. Additionally, all signage added on the interstate will direct motorists to exit 84 East Main Street at Highway 331 Bradley Cove Road. If signage directs motorists to exit 83 Weir Road, improvements may be required at the off-ramps at Weir Road in addition to improvements required for the off-ramps at 331 Bradley Cove Road. The applicant has stated that as soon as possible, they plan on annexing the property into the city, and the city recommends following the procedures outlined in Arkansas Annotated Code 1440-609. So as a result of this, it is staff's recommendation to approve the large-scale development to allow construction of the main facility and casino annex structure with the following conditions. Prior to building permit issuance, submit and finalize a petitioner-requested annexation, determine a feasible solution regarding all transportation system impacts identified within the traffic impact study, and obtain approval for all improvements required by the facility from both the city and RDOT for those. All public improvements shall be bonded at 150%. Submit revised site plan showing landscaping with a reduction to parking shown, and obtain an updated license to operate a casino annex temporary facility from the Racing Commission and provide the update to the city, or remove the casino annex building where no revisions will be required to the large-scale development approval if removed. That is prior to building permit issuance. Prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy, submit and finalize a final plat application including the dedication of right-of-way, improvements identified and approved by the city and RDOT completed, and bond regarding potential improvements at 150% of the cost for improvements identified in the TIS as needing reevaluated after the certificate of occupancy is issued. Those are prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Within 6 months of a certificate of occupancy, submit a new traffic impact study reevaluating the off-ramps at both Highway 124 and Weir Road and Highway 331 Bradley Cove Road, confirming distribution assumptions within the original TIS. If there are no improvements warranted by the new TIS, the bond for potential improvements will be released. And that's within 6 months of certificate of occupancy. If improvements are required within 1 year of certificate of occupancy, submit construction plans for any intersection improvements identified by the reevaluation traffic impact study as being warranted for improvements. And that is all as a result of the findings that the applicant demonstrates compliance with the regulations of Article 2.10 of the Russellville Zoning Code and compliance with the regulations of the Land Subdivision and Development Code. That is my staff report.
Thank you, Sarah. We have Cliff Gooden, Dustin McDaniel, and Mayor Harris. I believe were you still wanting to say a few words? Okay. All right. You want to go ahead and go? You have to state your name for the record, sir.
Richard Harris, Mayor of Russellville. You know, tonight, the Planning Commission is considering a large-scale development in our community, and we all know that this is not a typical large-scale development. Sarah has provided the conditions per the rules and regulations for the Planning Commission to consider tonight. To this point, the city has very little to say or do or had any control of what's happened in our community over the last 2.5 years. And so now is the time not to argue political biases or legal issues and things of that nature. Now it's the time to make a decision. But the thing that troubles me is I got a letter from the Attorney General's office earlier this week, Tuesday to be exact, 2 days prior to this council meeting, with some information relating to the applicant in this case. And I guess, I hate to make, although there's no legal reason to table this issue, I think it would be prudent to at least look at the information that's been provided by the Attorney General's office, and give the Planning Commission 30 days to see how this information fleshes out before we make a decision. So that'd be my recommendation to the Planning Commission tonight. Once you've heard all the discussion, it's certainly your opinion, it's certainly your decision tonight, and I will not try to sway you in any manner. And I certainly do not want to sway you in the pros and cons of this particular application. But just given the information that was received from not only the Racing Commission, but the Attorney General's office, just to consider tabling the item for 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Cliff Gooden?
For the record, my name's Cliff Gooden. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you all. This is a very important issue that's facing our community. It'll have a major impact from now on, whether it's good or bad. There will be a major impact. I think we need to give very serious consideration about when we move on this. I would second what the mayor said. I have reviewed that letter that was sent to him on behalf of the AG's office. It seemed to be that there was a understanding between the various parties that were involved that nobody would move forward until there were some decisions made by the Supreme Court. So with that in view, I think we need to sit on this until there are some decisions made about the direction that this particular program will head. Again, thank you for the opportunity for letting me voice my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gooden. And Dustin?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm Dustin McDaniel, counsel for Cherokee Nation Businesses. I concur with your mayor in the proposal, and I would only differ in small part, which is I do believe there's legal grounds for which, upon which for you to act. This evening is the first I heard of the proposed conditions. They certainly sound reasonable to me, but one in particular called for a revision of the license that has been granted by the state. One grounds for you to table the matter is the feasibility of those conditions. When Gulfside submitted their written application, they told the state they were going to build a $150 to $190 million casino. When they stood in front of the Racing Commission last summer and made an oral presentation, they said, no, it's going to be $240 million. And they told the chairman, we promise we won't do anything different, and if we do anything different, you can take our license away from us. That's in the transcript. And it was only a matter of months later that they come to you with this proposal, which is a single-story windowless building with no hotel at all on a completely separate 47 acres that's not licensed. There are presently 5 lawsuits pending about their eligibility to hold a license at all. Only 2 days ago, the Arkansas Supreme Court ordered all parties to respond to our expedited briefing schedule, and we anticipate being in front of the Arkansas Supreme Court September-ish to go to one of the core issues as to whether this Mississippi company can hold or even apply for a license in Arkansas. So to say that it's no small thing to suggest that any party would go back to the Racing Commission and modify the license that they were originally given. So that's almost a condition that would be very difficult to meet. So with that, I was asked to come and speak to the AG's letter if I can answer any questions for you on the status of the litigation in any of the cases, including the one in circuit court here in Polk County. Happy to do that, but otherwise, certainly it's your purview to determine who gets permits to proceed, and it's really not the state's job to tell you what to do or any private citizen's job to tell you what to do. You do what you think is best in that regard, and so if we can be helpful in helping you figure out what is prudent for long-term planning, happy to do that. But for those reasons, we echo the mayor's recommendation.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McDaniel. Does anybody have any questions for Dustin before he sits down? Okay, thank you. That's all the comments we had sign up. Commissioners, do you have any questions, any comments? What is your pleasure?
Wendell, if I
Yes.
may, the applicant would like to speak regarding this application.
Sure, yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave anybody out there, Morgan.
That's all right. I'm Morgan Barrett with Barrett and Associates. Also present is Casey Castleberry, legal counsel for Gulfside, as well as Terry Green and Jonathan Terrell with Gulfside. I was going to let Casey go ahead and address some of those issues that were brought up while they were fresh. But I wanted to say something first that, we're not here asking for a building permit. This is part of the planning process at the very front end. And that's what we're asking for now is, hey, does this site, is it okay to build on? We have a checklist that we've gone through and addressed concerns on the large-scale development checklist, as well as some others. And I'll get into those in a minute. But building permits down the road. The construction is not going to take place tomorrow. We're not going to come in and ask for a building permit tomorrow. But while this stuff is fresh, I'd like for Casey to come up and address some of the legal issues. But again, we're here to address the technical requirements. We're not here to debate or litigate any of the legal issues. That takes place somewhere else. That's Racing Commission and whatever court they want to sue in. This isn't the court. This is the Planning Commission technical review of a development, and that's what we're here for.
Morgan, that was precisely what I was trying to reiterate early in the meeting. When I asked for comments or whatever, that's what I was getting at as well. So, and I will remind 3 minutes. So just.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet.
Commissioners, appreciate the opportunity to address you very briefly on this matter. There's been a lot of discussion about the letter from the Attorney General, and I don't know if the commissioners have had an opportunity to see it. So I'd just like to read the sentence that I think has caused all of the attention to this letter. And it states as follows: while there are no formal court orders expressly prohibiting Gulfside Casino Partnership from beginning construction on the project plans as originally submitted to the Arkansas Racing Commission, this course of action is inconsistent with the party's stated intention of staying matters in the court system until a final determination on Gulfside's qualifications can be made. So that's the sentence that I think has caused the consternation and has been referenced in the comments made previously. It's important to note that that sentence begins, there are no formal orders prohibiting Gulfside from going forward with the project. I would also note when it talks about this being inconsistent with the party's intention of staying the matters, as Gulfside's counsel, who has been a party to all the conversations that led to those stays, I would disagree. We never represented that we were not going to go forward or that we would preclude ourselves from going forward. Rather, we simply agreed that those lawsuits would not go forward until we have an answer on the first lawsuit that's now before the Supreme Court. There's 5 lawsuits total, only 2 of which have been stayed. 3 of the lawsuits remain live following an order from Judge Timothy Fox in Pulaski County yesterday. I would also note, with respect to Mr. McDaniel's comment about the condition being not being feasible, it requires us to obtain an updated license to operate a temporary facility or remove the annex facility from our proposal. So I would submit to you both of those options are feasible. The Racing Commission could give us authority to conduct gaming in a temporary facility, or we could remove it from our proposal. I know I'm running short on time, but I'd like to very briefly refer you to an email which you may or may not have seen. Ms. Jondal reached out to the Racing Commission to ask them earlier in June about this issue and as to the temporary facility. The Racing Commission responded, and I'll read portions of that response. Gulfside may build a casino based on the issuance of a license. That's a quote from the email. So the Racing Commission says that we have the right, pursuant to the license that was issued to us, to build a casino. The Racing Commission goes on to say if Gulfside wants to operate a temporary facility, Gulfside has to get approval from the Racing Commission to do that. I believe you've also been provided with a letter that confirms, a letter on my letterhead that confirms on behalf of Gulfside that if this commission should choose to approve the proposal, that we stipulate that we will comply with all of the recommendations that were made by the staff in their report. I hope I did not overextend my time, but I appreciate the opportunity to address this commission.
Just to follow up on that, just to verify, we have submitted a copy of Gulfside's license. I think y'all received a copy of it in the package. Just verifying that they are authorized to operate a casino in Pope County. I think anything beyond the technical issues related to this is issues for the State Racing Commission or legislature. Like I said previously, I'm here just to address the technical aspects of the development, of the site plan as required by the large-scale development ordinance. So if I can, I'll just run through those real quick. The site plan was submitted with a checklist on it. There's a list of 14 items. Name of developer is Gulfside as listed on there. The owners are Merrick Holdings, Hilton Family Living Trust. Bearing and distances are shown. Street names, classifications, and right-of-way is shown. The building, sidewalks, curbs, drives, parking, striping, all of that is shown on the plat. Exterior lighting, as well as exterior speakers and driveways are shown. Adjoining property and activities are shown. Drainage improvements and runoff quantities, stormwater analysis was completed and submitted. Detailed plan will be submitted with the detailed civil construction plans. The utilities are shown. Green space and landscaping are shown, and we will update that and provide a detailed landscaping plan consistent with the condition of the city planner. We also submitted a letter from Citicorp General Manager stating that they have the facilities to supply water and sanitary sewer to the project. That will involve, some additional work by Gulfside, but it will improve the utilities in that entire area. And the final one was that Ordinance 1675 related to drainage that we will comply with when we submit the detailed civil plans. In addition to those required items, Gulfside submitted the renderings that you see that were included in your packet. Gulfside has stipulated that we will submit an annexation to the city of Russellville for all the property where the casino will be built. And we did commission a traffic study, and that was a lot of the stuff that Sarah was going over in the beginning that seemed kind of complicated. And it is, when we start involving the highway department and their approach, it's a multi-step approach. Some improvements they'll want in place, some improvements they don't want in place until a development's built and traffic patterns are established. They want to verify that the traffic counts are there that warrant any improvements. But we did do a traffic impact study that identified several areas that would need improvements based upon the projected traffic counts once the development is constructed and operating. As Casey mentioned, we have submitted a letter stipulating that we do concur and have asked to incorporate all the staff's recommendations into our application, which means that it's not a condition. We're asking to make that part of our application. We will complete everything that's been asked. Staff did a very thorough job. What y'all don't see is all the work that went in behind the scenes and prior to this meeting. Traffic study was one of the most detailed traffic studies that I've been involved in Russellville. And I've been dealing with traffic in Russellville for a long time and did quite a bit of work there. Glenn, as well as the highway department, went through a thorough review, and that's how all those recommendations came up. Fairly complicated, but we got there. I'll be happy to answer any questions related to the site plan. If you have any questions about any kind of operations or anything related to the casino, Jonathan Terrell and Terry Green are here, and as well as Casey can be happy to answer any other questions.
Okay. Thank you, Morgan. Commissioners, if you have any questions.
I've got one, Morgan. What do you plan on doing on exit 83 there?
Exit 83, right now, there's a level of service and actually a signal that's just right there warranted on the eastbound exit ramp. What we're proposing, we've identified those areas, the eastbound ramp and the westbound ramp will need some sort of improvements. Typically, that would be a traffic signal. There's some concern about a signal being installed at the eastbound ramp.
We are talking about the Weir Road ramp,
Oh.
right?
I'm on 84.
84?
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, 83, the westbound ramp at 83, currently during its peak hour warrants a signal based on existing conditions. Our addition of traffic is very minimal at that location. We did provide the traffic study to the highway department. They're aware that it warrants a signal currently. Our addition to that is minimal. Our current plan is not doing any improvements at that location. It's really focused on exit 84, where we do have an impact, but according to our projections and the directional distribution of the traffic, we weren't really creating any issues at exit 83.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, anybody else? We went through our list of people that have signed up to make comment, but does anybody else feel free to step up here, and you have 3 minutes. So if anybody else has anything they want to add, feel free to.
My name's Corey Beeson. I'm on the school board at Valley Christian School. Back in 2018, in July 2018, we were looking for some land to purchase, and we purchased some land that we actually got it purchased in 2019. Let's see, it was March 7, 2019, and it's directly across from where y'all's land's going to be. We were just wondering if that has an effect on this at all. We were planning on it before the casino thing ever got mentioned. We bought the land now. Is there some type of stipulation saying that you can't build a casino within so many feet of a school or a private Christian school or anything like that? And what could possibly be done about that?
I had spoke to T.J. Curtis this afternoon about that, Corey. So. I don't know. That's. Sarah, do you have a comment on that one at all? Or would that be a Trey?
Unfortunately, I do not know if there's any regulations, and I would have to research that.
All right. I know that's not much of an answer, Corey, but we'll look into that. Okay. I appreciate you bringing it to their attention. All right, commissioners. Anybody else?
Just to clarify, this has satisfied all the conditions of the,
Yes, sir.
For
They
large-scale
have
development.
met all of the conditions of the large-scale development for the planning purposes. The conditions that are placed on this application are to make sure and ensure that we get all of those other things prior to building permit or a certificate of occupancy or within 6 months of a C of O, to make sure that we have all the other requirements of the Russellville zoning code and ordinances within the city.
I'll make a motion to approve large-scale development with conditions as recommended by staff.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Cody, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the application as presented with the conditions. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Do a roll call, please, Mr. Cawthorn.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jackamore?
Yes.
Cothran? Yes. Duffield? Yes. Smith? No. Black?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It does pass. And if we have no further business, we are adjourned.